Oh, look at that.
Good morning, Gene.
Good morning.
Unrelenting 114. We thought we were relenting today for a minute.
I know, right?
For those of you not being entertained live, Gene overslept and is coming in about a half hour late. So it'll be about a 90-minute show for today.
Mm-hmm.
He was up late posting satanic messages on the
What?
X.
You sent
me that 5-minute video of that little cutie Christian chick who was like, "Oh, Taylor Swift is satanic, man." And then it's a 5-minute video that never talks about Taylor Swift being satanic, except
I know, right? That's the whole point.
it's like, what the hell is the matter with you? Well, this is called clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it was like, well, my dad and I used to watch Beyonce videos and look at the imagery. It's like, they're not the same person.
I mean,
Do you think they are? It's like they're all interchangeable.
they kind of are. Pop stars.
One Pop-Tart to another. It's all the same.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, though. And some of the music that I was just playing for the pre-trolls, I'm like, if Taylor Swift did have satanic imagery in her music, I would probably completely miss it. Because a few of the songs I played, one of them from Hank Williams III, one of my favorite artists, is called Long Hauls and Close Calls. But the chorus goes, "The devil is my friend. The devil is my friend. The devil is my friend." And I'm thinking, well, Taylor is not going to be that out in the open with the satanic part. And do you really think that these are? Because you grew up in the 1980s. I remember there was a show, and I think it was on like one of the high UHF channels, but I'm guessing this may have been national, or these things were probably going on around the country. There was some kind of preacher who had a weekly show talking about Satanism in music and playing shit backwards and all the backwards.
There was a lot of that. I don't remember a distinct show, but there was a lot of that going on. There's a lot of records played backwards in the 80s.
Yes. Oh yeah, that was bigger. I mean, forget the fact that the Beatles were doing it in the 60s. And it's backwards masking, it's subliminal messaging, and they're hiding all this stuff, and they're trying to brainwash the youths.
Right.
And I'm like, well, this is just a good marketing gimmick for the band. It's like, I've listened to music.
Well, I think it was a way to sell albums because you can't do it with an audio tape.
And it's interesting, these bands that really were popular that leaned into it, like Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil.
Yeah.
Like, you really think these guys are Satanists? It's like, no, it's a shtick. It's now, I don't know what it's conjuring up in the netherworld.
No, I think the Satanists would have kicked them out.
Yeah, they're like, you guys are fucking posers, man.
Yeah, look, Satanists don't want like drugged out, lazy, sleeping all day, playing music all night
podcasters.
People.
Right.
Hey, now.
It's like
that's right. Yeah, Satanists don't want Russians. That's correct. There are no Russian Satanists.
But I'm like, this is very interesting. It's like, yes, it is a way to sell records. Just like people like Kid Rock. I know people who know him personally that are like, he's just the nicest, normalest guy when he's not on stage.
I've heard that from everybody.
So it's interesting. It's like, it's a shtick. It is a character that is being played.
Does he play somebody who's not a nice guy?
I think he plays somebody that is a little edgier than himself. Yeah. Don't you think? I mean, that's the Kid Rock that's in the public persona. Not a
I never really thought of him as an asshole. I always thought of him as a nice guy.
Yeah, I mean, I like his music.
I'm not even a fan of his music all that much, but every interview and stuff I've seen, he seems very nice.
Because he's a rare conservative in the music business.
Well, yeah. And that's why money. He's not like trying to be a musician. He's got real money.
Oh, he does now. Yeah. And he made it by not being a real musician. That's the beauty of it. It's like, well, you just put some things together.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the state.
Kind of like Gene Simmons.
Well, the state of music today is interesting. There's a guy who sells a how to play by ear course. I guess that's how he started on
All
YouTube.
that shit's irrelevant at this point. AI's got it.
Well, it is.
With music.
Well, this is why the guy's name that does the YouTube videos, you probably run across him because you're on YouTube 34 hours a day.
I kind of am, yeah.
Rick Beato.
Oh, yeah, I watch him.
And he does let's look at the top 10 songs on Spotify. Sometimes they are so painfully bad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, there's really no chorus here even. There's really nothing going on at all. Mm-hmm. But this is the most popular music in the land now. And I think it's getting that way because either AI is already writing a lot of this stuff. It's not unique. It is so much. And this is the one thing.
It's all derivative.
Yes. And this is why what makes him happy, what makes a song stand out, is when something happens in the song that he wasn't expecting.
Yeah, there was a song that he did a video of. I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was something from the 70s, which was a pop song. And it uses not a single normal chord. Like, they're all like, no
major chords, right.
Yeah. Exactly. It was like E sharp seventh, and from that going to like a F minor.
Right.
It was like
F minor seventh
that shouldn't work together. And I can't remember what the name of the song is, but I know when he played it, he had this big grin on his face.
Well, it's when you're surprised in music, that means the songwriter did something spectacular at this point.
Yeah.
Because that's the problem with AI.
And it was a one-hit wonder guy, too. It was like, that was the one and only song from that artist that actually made it the charts.
You're like, how did you hit on it? Didn't know any better. That was just, I just sat down and started strumming on the guitar. But when you think about it, a lot of the most popular songs follow a formula. So the AI, doing the text writing, the same thing. It's like, well, here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing patterns, and I'm just going to repeat those patterns. And it's like, but they've been done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every song's been done. There's a great video from a Australian or a New Zealand. I can't remember which band.
Yeah, 3 chords, and he sings like 50 songs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because 3 chords are enough because people forget it's the
I think
melody.
It's the Key of Awesome is
Maybe.
the band.
But it's the melody. And that we had just the other night watched the documentary on the late, great Guy Clark, who has always been one of my favorite songwriters, Texas guy. And when you look at the music itself, very simplistic chords. It's the lyrics and the melody. You can play the same 3 chords in every song you do and have it be a completely different song. But it takes some creativity, and it takes being able to write a melody and craft the words into something beautiful rather than just blah kind of vanilla stuff that
Axis of Awesome. That's what it is.
The new Taylor Swift album, for instance, all very much non-organic music, which I don't like. I mean, the lyrics may be great, but it all sounds like background music. It all sounds like one long song, which means
really?
Yeah, it's very hard for you may like it because I know you like a lot of that kind of stuff.
What do you mean that kind of stuff?
That kind of pop music that is, kind of like one long song through the whole album. And you're like, well, was that it was like 3 hours. Was that one song? Was that 3, 5, 20? What was that? And I like.
Oh my God. This is your sneaky way of trying to get me listen to the
new Taylor Swift album. Well, the Satanists have to do something. It's
totally not like her. You're going to like it.
Right. You're going to love it. Well, you said that about one of the last albums. You were like, I was surprised. Yeah. This is more like whatever artist you said.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, I don't think her music is bad. I just, it shouldn't be anywhere near as popular as it is.
Oh, well, that much is true.
It's just sort of, popcorn music about boyfriends.
Yeah, I do not get that part. So, I mean, I'm with you that maybe there's some really good subliminal messaging going on. Because there's a lot of artists.
I think somebody did a video on her recently. I didn't watch the video. I just saw the title, but it was something like Taylor Swift, 30 years of being a 10-year-old or something like that.
Well, there's a lot of haters.
Well, no, but it's not the subtext was that she's stuck in that 10-year-old preteen girl mode where she's starting to become interested enough in boys to be attracted to them, but they're still icky. And so all these songs about failed relationships really hit it with that crowd because their relationships last 3 days.
Oh yeah. Well, that's high school, right? That's not now.
I would hope in high school it's a little longer than 3 days. It should be at least a month.
Right, then you're done. Gene was like,
yeah. I mean, it's like, dude, a year used to last like a decade.
Right.
You go back to high school. Come on.
Time did not fly.
No, it was like you're looking at the school year and like, oh my God, another 8 months of this shit.
But that was the interesting thing, though, when you look at AC/DC. Every song's about sex. I mean, it doesn't matter whether these guys were 18 or 80. They're still going in that. So you could put them in that same category that they haven't really.
It is. Well, I agree. It's not adult music, dude. Never has been.
Well, depending what is adult music, but
adult music, that's stuff that's on NPR.
Is that what you're listening to? The NPR specials?
Uh-huh.
It's very interesting. But I don't understand the overall insanity, and I've said that before. It's like, and people can't separate the fact that I'm like,
here's the thing. If it wasn't for nostalgia, there would be no musicians capable of making money over about 25. Because we're buying shit from the 80s. Well, I'm buying shit from the 80s because, or I should say that of the musicians I heard in the 80s, not necessarily their old albums, but it is because of nostalgia, not because it's good.
Well, there's another weird thing about music, which is for most people, what you liked in that, you're right. It's in that age when you were in maybe pre-high school up through college age, the artists that you like then are always going to be your favorite artists.
That's not an opinion. That's actually been determined by psychologists, as I've read that before, that your music taste for the rest of your life gets set between junior high and about college years. That's it. Like, if you don't have a favorite style of music by then, you're not a music person.
And the intriguing thing there would be the artists that then capitalize on that. The Rick Beato video I watched last night, which was the latest top 10 on Spotify. 2 of the songs were from Taylor Swift. I'm surprised all 10 weren't, but
I know, right?
He's like, oh, this has a really big 80s vibe to it. And I'm like, well, this is how she's pulling that larger audience, is because, you know, the new kids, they're like, oh, well, this is new to me. I have no fucking idea that it's 80s influenced at all. But you're getting that past generation as well.
Exactly. You're hitting on something there. And this is what I liked about Elon's ex-wife. God, what's her name? Do you know the one I'm talking about? The one that he had a couple kids with?
I know that she was a singer. I don't know her name.
Yeah. She's still a singer. But, you know, she's kind of goofy. Got a weird vibe going on about her. And apparently, I watched a video of somebody totally hating on her and how Elon just ruined her and she's no longer a good musician. And I think what changed is she got kids, you know, but she's a mom. But I like a lot of her stuff. I'd never heard of her before. I don't go out exploring weird, quirky music genres. But it's got a lot of very 80s vibe to it. And I was like, okay, I could see why Elon fucked this chick.
Billy Bones said Grimes. Is that the
Grimes? Yes, Grimes, exactly. Because Elon's our age.
So
and he's like, oh, I like this 80s music. Yeah, I think I'll fuck this chick and then have a couple of kids with her.
Are you happy that
he does believe in having a serial harem?
The latest list of the most richest person in every state just came out. Are you mad that Elon moved in and took you off that spot in Texas as the richest man in Texas?
Texas is 8th. We have 8 billionaires, which is not very many here.
Yeah, and Elon's got like 175 billion, so it's there's being a billionaire and then there's just showing off.
There's a lot of billionaires that are over 100 million now, though. It's kind of getting ridiculous. The value of dollar is gone down so much now. That's the way to think about it. It's not like they're getting richer. The dollar is just getting worthless.
True. That 178 billion is like what was 100,000 last week.
Pretty much. Exactly.
But the 80s vibe definitely there. And I think a lot of that.
We should be able to play Grimes on their podcast.
I think the issue now, most of these artists are not playing instruments. It's all computer created, which leads to that 80s vibe, which they were playing synthesizers and all that, but it was...
Yeah, there were a lot of synthesizers in the 80s.
You actually had people playing them rather than I think most of the things now are just programmed in.
Mm-hmm.
But the AI music thing, I mean, you sent the Suno whatever it was, maybe.
Yeah, I introduced you to it.
And I just ran a few things through it. And as that gets better, it's going to be interesting because you have very little control. You give it the lyrics, you kind of give it a genre, and you hope that it hits on something that you like. And they need to work on the vocal quality because that doesn't sound real yet, but it's 90% of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
You can understand the words, but it sounds...
I think you're full of shit. I think it sounds 99% there. It all depends. I think when you're... Maybe for heavy metal, it doesn't sound like the heavy metal guys because it's not as screaming as loud. But for the music I was doing, which was mostly country music, it totally sound... I mean, there's like 1% that you kind of can, if you listen, tell something's off. But it is 99% there.
Like it depends on the style of music. Western. Well, this is where now, when you start giving people control, where you can go in, now say you're a songwriter, well, you can write your lyrics, and then you can, once you can start giving it the chord structure and the melody structure, and then just letting this play the music for you, musicians, you're going to be looking at finding another job. At least not being needed, which is great for people like me. And I've always written songs. I pulled a guitar out for the first time in like 10 years. So it's been a while.
So this AI software website that makes musicians irrelevant got you to pull out a guitar. That's great.
I did.
That's hilarious.
Pulled out
shit, man. Maybe I need to like dust off my keyboard.
There you go. Get the band together, man.
Get the band back. Yeah.
I pulled out my Tacoma DF18, beautiful guitar, laminated top, which was not.
I have not owned the guitar for so many years.
No, I've got a nice Gibson too, and an electric guitar that somebody sent me.
An Ovation,
and I like the acoustics. I moved away from the electrics to the acoustic because it's like I like just sitting around strumming, and I'm really in the songwriting. Way more interested in writing songs like Guy Clark and Townes Van Zandt rather than anything pop related. But with that said, when you're able to, and I don't know if anybody does this yet, but if I can sit down and record a demo, just vocal and guitar, feed that into an AI that then turns it into a fully band, drum, add me the drums and electric guitar.
I think that's actually been around for a while. I think there's software like that because where it takes a tune and then orchestrates it.
See, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Again,
I could have sworn I watched a video on that.
It's taken the musicians right out of it, but it lets you as an individual create something that is more than just the guitar and vocal. Although when it comes down to it, All you need is guitar and vocal to have a good song.
I mean, that's relative, but
sure. I guess it's right. Well, if you like country music, then I think that puts you there. Now, if you like pop music,
I think there's more to a good song than just that. Like a good song has to be a good song.
Well, yes. Yeah.
It has to be well written and well played.
And it works stripped down. It doesn't have to be. That's how you also know.
Yeah. Well, you just need an instrument and a voice for the most, American style music. Yeah.
And now we know that you can have the voice fixed. It can auto tune. It can change pitch. It can make whatever.
Yeah, there's also a bunch of channels that do analysis of singers and show that 100% of the people are auto-tuned right now. Literally 100%. Nobody's not auto-tuning.
It's the studio. I mean, that's
it. And then comparing that to voices of the past. And there was a video I watched that was called There Will Never Be Another Judy Garland.
So true.
Where they're basically looking at the wave pattern,
right? The raw audio,
the raw wave pattern on an analyzer of the voice, the singing, and it is so obvious that everything is auto-tuned because everything hits the edge of the actual correct notes, even if there's some fluttering afterwards. And you look at these really good but old singers that clearly were not auto-tuned.
Right, great
and
singers.
None of them hit the exact note. All of them are off. It may be 1 in 10 notes that they actually hit right on the dot. The other 9 are off, but they're still considered great singers.
Right. Well,
right now, what we have are people through auto-tuning that are not great singers, but are very accurate singers because of auto-tune.
Well, and it's interesting because even before auto-tune as the technology came to being, once we hit multi-track recording, and I'm sure this is true of a lot of artists, but I remember reading something back in the day about Steven Tyler cutting a song. And the producer said, the guy sings the song like 50 times, and they literally cherry pick the best word out of each track to make the final one. So what you may be hearing, if somebody's singing Living on a Prayer, I'm sorry, that's Bon Jovi, not Steven Tyler, but each one of those words may be taken from a different cut and spliced together, which while not auto-tuning, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're getting it until you just sing that word until you get it right.
Sure. Well, and that's been done for a long time, I think.
And it's weird because it's the quest for perfection that just doesn't have to be there. And I think that's another reason why a lot of this new music does not grab people in a emotional way, is because it sounds too polished and too perfect, and it sucks the emotion right out of it.
It does. I agree. I think when you're dealing with electronic instruments, which can be perfect, if the voice isn't, it's more obvious.
Also true.
I think if you're listening to anybody's garage band, I think there's less difference in the imperfection of the instrument playing versus the singing. If you're listening to somebody in the studio, like the instruments are going to be right on because they're going to be MIDI'd.
That's a different vibe.
And even if it's an acoustic guitar or something, or an electric guitar, they're essentially auto-tuned. You may be off, but it'll be right on. Right. And if they're not auto-tuned, they're still quantized. That's been on for like 30 years. Musicians have been quantizing.
Because it all depends on what the musician is going for. But yeah,
anything that's produced is going to have a more pro sound to it.
Yeah, I may have talked about this. My buddy Tom, who recorded a bunch of stuff here, when he went to, had a drummer buddy add the drums to it, and then they took that multi-track to a producer that had worked with Brian Wilson, Mellencamp. So took it to a professional dude, and he was showing him the stuff like, well, here, okay, so the drum came in, 1/1000th of a second too early, so let's just move that.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap.
Yep.
That guitar, okay, yeah, you were like one, semitone below what you wanted there. Okay, we'll boost that up.
Fix that up. Yep.
It's like magic.
Yeah, and the art is, they used to do it manually. Now software will do it for you.
It's like just click, make it better, or whatever better means.
And that's why there's such a drive to lip sync in live performances, because you don't want to disappoint people. Yeah, they've heard your albums, they bought those, they showed up to the show, and then they realized you actually suck.
Yeah, there were a lot of artists who do not have the singing chops, including a young Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. Yeah, exactly.
She has gotten a lot better, but yeah, when she came out, it was like she can't sing. And it was always funny to me because as a country songwriter,
it's gotten way better at lip syncing.
She's gotten way better at singing. You've seen this in performances. Look at YouTube. You can find out.
Yeah.
But I loved when people were like, she can't sing, she'll never make it. And I'm like, are you familiar with Neil Young?
Hello, Adam Curry.
Are you familiar with, Springsteen? Are you familiar with...
Oh, you're listening to all the people that can't sing?
That do not sing technically well. I mean, it's fair.
I agree. I don't like the singing style of either of those guys.
And it's like Neil Young, Bob Dylan, not a good singer. Hell of a songwriter. Oh my God,
he was a horrible speaker. Forget singer. He could barely speak, man.
But he writes a hell of a tune. He's really, I think he may be giving Joe Biden diction lessons now.
I know, right? Yeah, and like, it's not even an accent thing, because I've been to Hibbing, man. I've vacationed there. People do not speak like Bob Dylan up there.
This gets done, man.
Yeah, but he's a good writer. He wrote good poetry.
Tom Petty, not a classically good singer.
Oh yeah, horrible voice. He has a very thin voice. Would never pass muster as a singer.
What about Willie Nelson? He is on the cusp, I think, of creating his own kind of vocal genre style.
I've heard you've heard Willie's early stuff, right? Before he found his niche.
Yeah,
I think that he was right on the edge. He was definitely a second tier musician. He was not somebody that would be able to fill venues by himself. And it wasn't until he kind of found what he's been doing for the last 50 years that he started gaining attention, because his voice, it's on the thin side, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, very nasally.
And you can tell that if you hear him back in the day when he was playing with Chris Christopherson and
Johnny Cash. That man.
Yeah, the guys that had good voices. And then you hear and Waylon, and you hear his voice, and it's like, one of these here doesn't belong.
And Willie's way up there. Johnny Cash and Waylon were down pretty low.
Yeah.
And I don't even know
Waylon had the most beautiful voice. It was so rich.
I know.
Johnny has a unique low voice, and I like his voice a lot, but if you compare him with Waylon, like, Waylon had just better pipes.
Which is why Waylon got away with singing so much. I mean, there's a song that
Waylon got the girls,
right?
As the story goes.
he can just come out and be like, Clyde plays electric bass. And it just, the guy had he was the voice of the that Good Old Boys show on TV, The Dukes of Hazzard.
He was.
Which is where everybody knows Waylon. Even if you don't know Waylon, you're like, oh, that guy. But he was a hell of a writer as well. Changed music more than a lot of people know, because artists were not getting paid a whole lot. When Waylon sat down, it was like, nope, not going to accept it. He kind of kicked down a lot of doors. It's an interesting story.
Wow. Well, he also was kind of late in life to prominence. I mean, he played music his whole life.
Yeah, with the Crickets, baby.
Yeah, he didn't really get really start making money off until later in life.
But he made up for it.
Yeah.
It's that whole outlaw thing. It was the whole anti-Nashville country music, which we need another really strong dose of that right now. Because the music,
Nashville,
the Nashville music is just horrible.
Well, you saw that little clip I sent you of Willie playing last week, right?
Yeah, from like the 70s, 60s.
Last week.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, there was one that he was in concert now, and he looks old. But there was also a video. There was also a video going around of him he still had short hair. Was sitting at like a friend's house on the floor playing, and it's like how far Willie's come, but he has had a hell of a time.
Yeah, no, the one I sent you was a buddy of mine went to his concert like 4 days ago and shot a little clip.
Yeah, well, Willie's now sitting down; he can't stand up. But he's still sings,
he's a 99-year-old dude. So what do you want?
He just turned 91
or 91. Yeah, whatever.
Smoked a lot of weed.
Yeah, I think he's been fully permeated.
Willie, the stories that he has told, about the time his wife sewed him up in the bed and beat him with the broomstick. I mean, there's a lot of good stories.
As one does.
As one would. Right. Exactly. He lost all his money. The IRS took everything but his guitar. And Willie was like, screw you. I can build it up again. Because I'm Willie freaking Nelson, man.
Yeah, because he doesn't need more than one guitar. He's not one of these crazy rock and roller musicians.
Right.
Have like 30.
Mark Knopfler just sold off like 30 or 50 guitars. And it's like you realize you get to that point in life where you're like, I got way too many of this. You can only play one at a time. And with the technology, again, as much as some people may hate it, back in the day, you needed a specific guitar through a specific amplifier, through specific chords, blessed in a certain way to get the sound.
It's all digital now.
Yeah, now you just plug it into your, Apple computer and go, okay.
This is why I think it's hilarious that people still buy vinyl albums. Oh, it's got that analog sound. Yeah, except it's all processed digitally before it's put on vinyl.
Well, there was a big deal with Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs, who was one of these big vinyl houses, or I should say specialty vinyl houses that would take releases and re-release them, remaster them. And it came out that a part of their whole thing converted it to digital, and people went nuts.
Of course. Yeah.
People went nuts. I like vinyl for the nostalgia reason.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the only legitimate reason, in my opinion, is nostalgia. Because when you start talking about the sound, it's like, okay, if you're talking about vinyl made in the 1960s, maybe.
Yeah.
You're talking about vinyl made today, I can guarantee you with 100%, there was a digital phase that this went through before it was printed in vinyl. 100%.
Or about 90, no, not quite 100, because Jack White's still out there, but I agree it's a vast majority.
Studios don't have analog gear anymore.
Some do. Jack White
You'd
does.
have to find something that people haven't bought new equipment sinst the 80s. In the 80s is when it started changing. Literally in the 90s, you started getting more digital gear coming. What's his face? He did an episode. The guy you just talked about. He did
Jack
an episode
White.
on that. No.
Oh, Rick Beato.
Rick Beato did an episode on that. Yeah.
The Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters bought one of those mixing boards with the recording gear from the one. I'm blanking on the.
And analog shit breaks. Like you have to keep replacing parts in it. It's not digital where you just turn it on and it just works.
Yeah, the heads wear out, the motors get fucked, and the speed is off, and you can't be off by 1/1000th of a.
Everything's always off.
It's
yeah.
Which is why it's so hard to recreate some of this stuff, because it's like it wasn't right.
Yeah, mechanically, one of the most difficult instruments to keep running all the time is a pipe organ.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The whole
that.
damn thing's mechanical, and it relies on movement and blowers, and it it's not a full-time job, but there is a dude that well, there's plenty of dudes whose full-time job is servicing church organs for those churches that still have the old school traditional pipe organs.
Got the big pipes.
Yeah. I used to take lessons at a church on a pipe organ.
Really? So you know how to play the keys?
Yeah. Well, that's why I said I might have to dust off the keyboard at some point.
And I can only imagine the difference is when you sat down as a kid with probably a little Casio keyboard at home, then going into the church with like the sound of God as the whole building reverberates.
It is pretty intimidating, that's for sure. Because especially when you're playing the bass pedals, because it's a loud sound. The churches are made to have a lot of reverberation.
Well, yeah, that's because usually the people that are singing there suck, and the more reverb you're going to have, the better it is.
And frankly, you're usually during church service, it's full of people wearing clothing that absorb sound.
True.
When you're sitting there with your teacher and it's empty,
then you could rock out with some Zeppelin.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a Jack Black video of him rocking out at a church organ somewhere. I just can't imagine he didn't have a video like that.
Right. But Jack White, they record stuff when people come in and do live. They record them direct to the lathe. So it's very interesting stuff.
Oh, really? Wow. Mm-hmm.
The ultimate in analog gear. But it's trying to preserve that because there is something to be said for digital.
Archaic technologies, sure.
Well, think about something like Bruce Springsteen's record that was released in 1982, it must have been. So right before Born in the USA was Nebraska.
Right. Yep.
And it was recorded as demos on a 4-track. So it wasn't your just straight out cassette recorder like you'd buy at the time. It was a 4-track, so a little more expensive.
4-track back in the day.
I do too. It's still in the closet here. The Tascam.
Tascam, yep, that's the one.
And those things are a lot of fun. So you take your cassette tape and it only goes one way. So you get 4 tracks. You normally would have stereo on each side. This is 4 tracks going in one direction. And if you were smart, you sped it up because if you did it the normal cassette speed, the frequency response was only so good, but you wanted to go faster. But that meant like a 90-minute tape gave you 20 minutes. So it went really, really quick. But that's how Springsteen recorded that album. I can only imagine if somebody was doing their demos today, it would all be digital, which would lead you to.
Yeah, you can't not do digital.
It would be a completely different thing. So there are pieces of art that are out there because of the equipment that they were recorded on have a big impact on the sound. Now everything would be digital and they'd be like, oh, you like these performances the best? Well, we could just, add everything else that we need right to it. It's very weird. I like it because it puts it in the hands of any moron. The stuff that I recorded, I mean, I'm not a good musician. My buddy Tom was. And his buddies that would come over and help him out, maybe add a bass line to stuff. Being able to record this.
Is that the guy that did our theme?
Yes. Yes. And he passed away 7 years ago now. Time flies, man.
We've been doing the show a long time.
It seems so. But that was having that ability was like, this is changing. There's no doubt this was going to change the music industry. And this wasn't even right at the beginning of it, but being hands-on with this and seeing what you could do with how many tracks you could record and how you could do the effects on every little track and how you could fix every little mistake. At that point, which is, going back 10 years or so, I was like, why are sound, recording studios, that's the words I'm looking for. Why are they even still around beyond getting, the hookers and blow in and maybe a place to hang out? Because the recording technology that you can get with a laptop now and a mixing board, you don't need anything more.
Well, yes, but you still have the advantage of a good acoustic room.
Yeah.
So you just record everything at the studio. You can edit it anywhere.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It is. You want a big dead room.
Yeah.
If you're recording, so you don't have all the room. And I loved going through Blackbird Studio in Nashville, going into the old fashioned reverb room,
Mhm.
whatever they call it, where the ceiling just rose and fell depending on what kind of sound they were looking for.
Yeah, you want to be able to create that kind of clean, dead sound, and then you can edit everything in.
Which is the beauty of it.
And that, like the headphones I use, the K701s, they're reference studio headphones, which means that they provide a sound with no biasing. So that's what you want for editing. You want to hear exactly what's on the recording and not have it sound sweet. So it's kind of like when you turn off all your big bottom
Effects,
and stuff, and all of a sudden you sound like a mouse. That's what you want for the recording, because everything else is added in post.
Well, it's good to add everything in post.
Yeah, except you don't like doing post.
Well, right. Post is a pain in the ass, and you can do it all in post. But when you're doing a live show,
you flip it back on, you sound horrible.
You got to flip it in. Now, this is just with this is just the EQ, which this is 99% of the way there. And I did it this way for quite a while. But then I finally got the big bottom from the basement and patched that in. And when you add the big bottom in, this is what you get now. It just adds that little, that pushes you over.
It brings it a lot closer.
And it's a very small change. It's the Aural Exciter I always thought was an interesting thing because they used that on a lot of music back in the day. It's like, well, what is it doing? Is it EQing? No, it's not really EQing. It's exciting the audio. It's like, it's magic. It's kind of like the big bottom, which is supposedly, and I think it works fairly well, it enhances your bass frequencies without making it louder, because normally when you jack the bass up, the volume goes with it.
Yeah.
And then it can really overpower things.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what it's doing, but I think the Aural Exciter, if I remember right, reading about it, it's an analog device. It's not a digital device, but what it does is it splits the waveform into two, and then it inverts one of those two, and then it squeezes them together to get that particular sound.
It is magic.
No, it's not magic. It's math.
True.
It's just doing math.
But
it's
magic
analog
in the
math.
audio
It's
realm.
not digital math.
I do have it's a dual channel.
Dude, do you still want my, I've never shipped it to you. I just realized, do you still want my dead channel strip that has all that shit on it that you probably just need to replace the power supply and it'll work?
But I don't know if you could just replace the power supply. We have to look at that again.
I mean, it was $1,000 when I bought it, and it's been sitting collecting dust.
$25
because you push the power button and nothing happens.
He's like, what's that all about?
Yeah, and I missed out the opportunity to have it serviced through warranty because I was lazy.
You can't just buy another one and return this one.
They were bought by somebody. They don't make this anymore. It's not a device anymore. It's it's from the guys that invented the big bottom, whatever that company's called. What are they called?
Apex, right?
Apex. Yeah. So it's the Apex 1 or the Apex 1 channel or something like that. Channel 1.
It's a full channel strip, right?
But it's a full channel strip. So it's got all of their shit on it. And the reason I bought it, and it has digital outputs. So it does all the analog processing and then dumps it into a high frequency digital A to D converter, 96 kilohertz, and then spits it out.
Mine is the Apex 204, and I do have another channel. So if I really wanted to, I could buy some patch cables and route your microphone through that as well.
I remember I got it tuned to where I liked the way it was sounding. I'm sure it sounds totally different than what I normally sound through this, but also I didn't have this microphone back when I was using that.
Ooh, now this is a nice clear mic.
Yeah.
Although this is the just a little baby brother of the RE20. And I went back to the RE20 because much as I like the Shure SM7B, nothing beats the RE20.
No. I think the 320 does, but it is a great mic.
Well, for me, I actually have bass in my voice, so it helps.
Right. That's true. Yeah. For the rest of us.
Right. Forget it. But I'll have to do. I'll get some
the 320
cables
is better.
because now the Motu is underneath the left monitor on my desk, and the Apex is underneath the right monitor on my desk. So I'm going to need like a 6 foot, 6 feet cables to route them around. That would be interesting.
Yeah. And you're talking about analog routing or digital routing?
Correct.
Analog.
No, basically because, the back of the Motu, right. I could take your signal out.
Way many outputs.
Use, that guitar cable, use your 1/4 inch cable.
Yep.
Bring it into the Apex, then bring it back to the Motu.
Yep.
And do all the processing before it gets to
But wait, won't I be like 1/1000th of a second too late then?
Maybe. 1/1,000,000th, whatever it may be. It's latency. You always wonder how much latency
baby.
there
Analog
is.
still has latency.
Everything has a little bit of latency.
Mm-hmm.
It's the beauty of it. That's why I always wonder, how does this all work?
Well, that's the thing that's why there was no, the analog sound is a mishy-mashy sound.
Uh-huh.
It's not tight.
Well, there's so many stories, I should say.
By the way, I hope people realize we do a music show every week.
It's a great show, Unrelenting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all about music.
Where they used to get, to get the different sounds and what band was it? Maybe it was Van Halen, where it's it used a razor blade to cut the cone on the amplifier.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah. I don't know if it was true, but I heard that.
It's very interesting stuff. And how did you get that particular tone? Now, again, it's all computerized, which kind of ruins anything when you can go into a, digital audio workstation and just download a plugin that's now your guitar tone will sound exactly like Eddie Van Halen or whoever you're looking to get.
Oh, and I remember the first batch of plugins that came out, and this is Primo 2. This is Universal Audio, is I think the company. It's very expensive digital stuff, but they had a bunch of plugins named for the studios in Nashville that they came out of. Wherever Elvis recorded, where Johnny Cash recorded, you could literally just buy that plugin. And boom, now your digital processing music processor unit is able to transform your sound as though it was recorded in that studio with the reverb and with the mics and the analog amps and everything.
Well, that's the one thing I loved about the early rockabilly, early rock and roll was that slapback echo.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to do, but it's a very unique sound to it. You don't hear it much anymore.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Now because they have all these fancy things they can run the processing through. And it's we don't really need organic musicians. It's no, I want to hear a guitar. I want to. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose me long term. We also, besides watching the 90-minute Guy Clark documentary, which if you like country music and good songwriting, it's definitely one to check out. I had no real clue because, again, like with Taylor Swift, when people are how can you be a fan? You don't even know about her personal life. I had no idea that Guy Clark's wife, Susanna, one, she was a great artist. She wrote some #1 songs and did the painting for Willie Nelson's Stardust. That was her work, one of them. I didn't know that. But Townes Van Zandt and her had such a close relationship. She's he would call her every morning at 9:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And she said he was her soulmate, but yet she was married to Guy Clark. I'm I don't know how would that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's
I mean, if you're married to somebody, it's you okay with it was one of his buddies. I mean, they were Guy and Townes were very close. Your buddy's calling your wife every morning and she says he's her soulmate. That's it's a weird relationship.
Yeah, she married the wrong guy.
Uh-huh. Also watch these 6 hours or whatever it was of the Bon Jovi documentary, which obviously a whole different type of music, but came away appreciating what he did a little more because he actually has the singing chops. I had really never paid that close attention. And we know
Well, he had the guitar playing chops too.
not bad. I mean, Richie Sambora was probably a little bit better, but he could strum.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Richie Sambora has a hotter daughter, but that's a completely different story.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know, it's like people were like, why didn't you mention in the documentary that he was married to Heather Locklear? It's like, well, why would you?
Whoa, Heather.
Yeah. Back
I
in
didn't
the
know
day.
he was married to Heather.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why the daughter's like a new little Heather.
Damn.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she was a hottie back in the day.
You know, I mean, batshit crazy, it seems, but.
Yeah, well, aren't they all?
Yeah. Thanks. Sir Gene at sirgene.com.
It's true.
And
The crazy hot index, baby.
the Bon Jovi thing, I was intrigued because I had no idea. I would not have guessed this. Like Uncle Ted,
Mhm.
Bon Jovi claims that he was 100% drug free. That sure he drank.
I don't believe it.
Said he never liked drugs. He said he tried them early on, like in high school, did not like them and never went back. And he also seems to be a perfectionist who was worried about anything that could mess with his voice, which is why it was interesting now that he ended up needing vocal surgery, but it seems to have
Right.
worked.
Yeah.
That's got to be a big thing. I think we talked about it when Jonathan Brandmeier, the radio DJ legend, had something similar and had to have voice surgery. And they're like, well, you may never talk
Yeah,
again.
that would suck. Yeah.
You know, when you're a singer and this is still where you're getting your money and this is what you do more than anything else.
Yeah,
Because Bon
that's what you're
Jovi's
known
got the
for.
money
Right.
to be like, you can't sing anymore. It's like, that's
you
interesting.
remember that movie, Walk Hard?
Walk Hard.
I think it was called Walk Hard. It was the parody of the Johnny Cash movie.
No, I know the Johnny Cash movie. I didn't know there was a parody of it.
Yeah, yeah. It's got the guy from Saturday Night Live, or not the Saturday Night Live guy, but the other guy.
Oh, the guy from The Guy.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I wish
I can't remember
did.
the actor's name. Oh God, do you remember Talladega Nights?
Yeah, Ricky Bobby, man.
Who's the actor in there?
Will Ferrell?
Other guy.
Oh, John.
Yeah, he was the guy that played Johnny Cash in the parody.
You know, here's the funny thing. He went to my high school, and I can't remember his name.
No,
Not at the same time,
he does look like a Polak though.
but he went to Brother Rice High School in Chirac.
Yeah, he's got that kind of look about him.
He's another one of them that is just a really nice guy. Although I can understand with him because, he was never a super big star. I mean, you know who he is. John C. Reilly.
Riley, yeah.
Sounds more like a Polak. No, it sounds more like an Irish guy.
Irish Polak.
I mean, he sounds Irish, but
Aren't
he
they
looks
all
Polish.
Irish Polacks these days?
Really, this could be the same case. He's probably half Irish and half Polish.
He
Let's see
probably
here.
is.
A father of mostly Irish descent and a Lithuanian-American mother.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lithuanian, one country over.
Very
Literally.
close. Very close. Gene, guessing somebody's ethnicity, very close.
My racism is tuned to perfection.
Well, you've been practicing for so long. For so long.
Yes, it's more of an art than a science, but yeah.
When did this movie come out?
So it played Johnny Cash in that. I can't believe you haven't seen that movie. That was a hilarious movie about music.
This guy has been in everything.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. And in that movie, it's a funny ongoing joke about drugs. Like he's never the one that gets into drugs, but he's constantly tempted to do drugs. And so it's like, oh, this stuff's great. And it's not even addictive. Oh, okay. I guess I'll try it. And then, he's strung out on meth or whatever.
Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Hard. Yes. Walk Hard. That was a great movie, man.
It
was right in the style of Talladega Nights. If you like that movie, you'll really like this one. And it came out probably a year after the actual Johnny Cash movie came out. With
2007.
Yeah.
With Jenna Fisher in the movie.
Yes. And she plays, God, what was the gal's name? Johnny Cash's love interest there.
Well, she plays Darlene Madison.
Darlene.
It would be the June Carter Cash character.
Exactly. It's the June Carter character. And she was great in that. I don't know what the hell happened to her, because like she had this long ongoing thing with The Office, and then she was poised to become, because of that, being known for it, become a movie star. And she was like in 2 movies, and that's it. She was gone.
Yeah, nothing that you would know about, nothing big, because she should have been. Like you said, on
she
deck.
Was cute.
Right. The cute
and she
rom-com.
had that girl next door thing going. And as you can see in this movie, in Walk Hard, you put her in a sexy clothes, she looks pretty hot.
Good old Pam Beasley.
Mm-hmm.
More movies to add right to the list.
That one I'm surprised you haven't seen. The other ones that you haven't seen, I'm not surprised. This one I'm surprised because you're like a music guy. Why would you not watch a music comedy with a buddy of yours from high school?
I know, from way back when.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was because I just never really liked the Will Ferrell kind of comedy, so I figured this was...
I know what you mean. But I think Will Ferrell's movies are better than what I remember his comedy being on Saturday Night Live. It was always very childish on Saturday Night Live. The movie characters are a little bit more adult.
DJ Guru says John C. Reilly is a hardcore lefty libtard. Well, he's a Hollywood actor, of course.
I would have... And he's from Chicago.
But he went to a good Catholic school, you know?
Yeah, that's not at all surprising. If you're going to limit your movie watching to only conservative produced, directed, and acted in movies, welcome to the Daily Wire, my friend. Because that's it. That's your only choice.
Yeah. It's like music. I mean, I would have to listen to Uncle Ted, Kid Rock, and a handful of others if you had to avoid the leftists.
Yeah.
But like Steve Earle, lefty loon, makes some great music.
Mm-hmm.
Springsteen, same way. But
I think that makes sense. I think most artistic, high quality products require a mental facilities deficiency.
You got to have that mental break.
You got to be a little crazy, to say it nicely, in order to be a good artist.
Well, you're not incorrect. Some of the best albums, I mean, Sinatra, some of his best albums, I mean, he admitted, came around breakups. And it's like when you're in that, in that state, of the emotional, over emotional, which we know that's what the lefties are, overly emotional because they don't deal with facts. You can make some great art. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, the extreme side is guys that cut their ears off or commit suicide when they're 27.
Right. Painters do the same thing. Sir Ned wants to know why you sound like you're on half speed mode. Gene just woke up.
I just woke up, dude. That's why I'm on half speed mode.
Why is Gene on half speed?
I literally texted Darren while I opened my eyes in bed. I looked at my watch. I'm like, oh, I'm a half hour. Yeah, it was about a half an hour. But I was like, I'm waking up an hour after I planned to. I don't know what the hell happened to my alarm. I could have sworn I set an alarm.
People were guessing the snake finally got you.
I know, right? That's the first thing people think of is like, yeah, snake must eat them.
Well, actually, the first thing was massive heart attack due to hard living.
Oh, well, that's probably true too. Yeah.
Like Austin man found dead in his bed.
After shit posting all night long.
Right. Can you imagine his last words were?
What was my last? Oh, now I'm curious.
Right?
I'm going to go look at what's my last X post.
What will he be known forever for last leaving his mark? I mean,
X.com. I'm curious, dude. I don't even know.
You never think about that. Like
last thing I posted was The Matrix, 1950s Super Panavision 70 version. Do you see any of those posts? They were really good.
I didn't really pay attention to them.
Clearly, you don't.
I was sleeping at 3:30 in the morning. Was not around.
Dude, I only posted 27 tweets since 10 p.m. last night. That's not that much.
Is that all?
Yeah.
The beauty is I like knowing that people can set up tweets for in the future.
Mm-hmm. Because that's true. They can. Yeah.
Just imagine what everybody should do is like set their Twitter account if you believe it's going to be around for like 50 years. and just have a message sitting there waiting like, haha, I'm dead, motherfuckers.
Hmm.
And that just pops up at some point.
That could happen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It would be even funnier if you weren't.
Right. Like, nope, made it this far.
Whoops.
Sorry.
Never assumed I would make it this long.
Got to reset that.
I'm
thing.
sure Willie didn't.
No, I know. Willie's like, damn, God bless him.
Uh-huh.
He is the epitome of the guy that knew if he stopped doing what he enjoyed, he would probably be long dead already.
Yep. Still touring.
He's just going out, enjoying himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, if he dies while touring, I think that's his wish has been fulfilled.
While on stage. Now,
that might be depressing, but hopefully in his sleep, in his bed on a tour bus.
No, I'm thinking at the end of a show, finish off with, may the circle be unbroken. And on that last strum, Jesus calls him home.
Yeah. And he breaks the circle. That'd be great.
It all goes poorly from there.
Yeah. So this now that I'm looking at it, do check out my last tweet of last night, 7 hours ago, because it is a link to The Matrix redone by AI in the 1950s movie style. And the guy that did that one has probably 20 or 30 movies that are done, or they're not full movies, obviously. They're basically
like a trailer
ad for the movie. It's like
trailer.
He's redoing what?
A trailer.
A trailer, yes. He's redoing the trailer for that movie, but in a different style or genre or timeline. And so he's got like Star Wars done in the 1950s or even 40s. He's got all these different ones done in the 50s and 40s. And then he's got a bunch that are not in the 1950s either, but interesting idea. And he's done a whole channel of these things of essentially using AI to bring something that it looks similar. Like he's got Game of Thrones down in the 1950s, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and if you get enough people watching, that could be a full-time gig.
I watched it. Watched like 10 of them last night.
Now, we are a value for value podcast. And for some reason, we have multiple people to thank for today.
Uh-huh.
I don't really understand why. I mean, I'm very grateful, but the last show, I think we had literally 2 cents and then CSB sent in a boost and that was it.
Well, CSB also sent
you didn't answer him. He's mad at you.
To me.
Yes, he's mad.
He sent me
he is mad you did not answer his post about the eclipse.
Oh, well, I didn't see a post about the eclipse. No, I say he sent a message this morning saying, "Hey, are you awake?"
He was like, "Darren, I do not give to Unrelenting because Gene did not respond to me."
Well, I don't know which message that would be in reference.
Darren, have Gene tell me what is going on.
I freaking like his posts all the time, so
I love CSB's posts.
Mm-hmm.
But today coming in, number 1, Weenie Wawa. That is a great name. Coming in with 1080.
Mm-hmm.
That's monthly too.
Nice.
So thank you, Weenie Wawa.
The monthlies are great.
Darian Rundle came in with 565 and asked me to send him the name of the AI music app you were using. So that made a splash.
Yeah, it's a really nice app, and apparently it's been around for a while. I just stumbled on it randomly last week and then used it to redo the theme music for Just the Good Old Boys, another podcast that I do with a dude named Ben.
Yeah, and I noticed the stuff that you can do with that was quite interesting, especially taking the audio that they give you and running that through Adobe Audition to do a little extra, even running it through.
Oh, yeah, sure.
A mastering, because there's like presets for mastering music. Mm-hmm. It brought everything. It made it sound much bigger, which is a good thing. But thanks for the 565. And see, this is how we became, thanks to Darian, we're an all-time music show now.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mark Kodra came in with 565 and says, Unrelenting is a great show. I wish you would tell a few people about it then.
Well, that and then send more money.
It's a great show.
I mean, it sounds like it's just a good show based on donation size.
You want to tell a lot of people that it's a great show and then more will listen, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and we've said this before, but we don't say it often enough that one of the best things you can do, which literally costs you no money, is go and leave a review of the show in iTunes.
Yeah, that's probably the most helpful. There are other places, but that's
but those reviews are pulled into
everywhere.
Other apps.
True.
So I like, there's multiple places you can leave reviews, but the iTunes one is probably the first one I would steer people toward, because those reviews are generally tied to the RSS feed, and they're used by multiple listing places.
If you want Gene to be
what
up
am
in
I
time
watching
for the
by
show.
Tom Tomsky posted some video of like Sesame Street characters clearly being ripped off and fake, doing counting to 4. Have you seen this video?
No. But
Tom, what the hell is this?
He knows.
I don't have the sound turned on. I'm just watching.
Because you're doing a show. That would be
because I'm doing a show while watching a video of knockoff Sesame Street characters like counting and eating bats.
1, 2, 3 bats. That's how many bats it takes.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Cookie Monster. He's smoking. No, the freaking Grouch is smoking a cigarette. Oscar's smoking, a cigarette and head banging.
Well, that sounds pretty cool.
I'm telling you, Tom Tomsky just posted this on Twitter, on X. You should check it out.
Ricardus Rex came in with 559, but that was
I had a bunch of people tell me to wake up. That's just hilarious.
See, they're like, the show is supposed to be on now.
And then some total asshole says, Gene, get off social media. It's corroding your brain.
Right. It is. Ricardus Rex says, being just a year or two older than Gene and having grown up in the far western suburbs of Minneapolis, I enjoy his recounting of growing up there back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
In honor of this common connection, here is a $4.94 donation. The I-494.
Yeah. $4.94, baby.
Jesus.
Yeah, so Minneapolis has a beltway around it. 494 is the south side of the beltway, and 694 is the north side of the beltway. And then they added 394 in the middle of the beltway eventually.
And 294 goes through Chicago.
Does it? Yeah. And so the southwest corner of that beltway is Eden Prairie, which is the Eden Prairie Mall, is the mall that was in Mallrats. And then the mall that I basically grew up in because I could ride my bike to it.
Is that where you got your first girlfriend, at the mall?
At the mall?
I mean, not that you bought one. I'm just saying, did you like that?
At the girlfriend store?
Right. If only. Life would have been so much easier if there was just a girlfriend store.
Well, I mean, it kind of is.
You're going to make the case that there is. Okay. Have you gone to UkrainianSluts.com?
Have you tried to have a girlfriend without spending money?
No, I've never tried that. Why do you think I don't have one?
Yeah.
It's bad enough to have a wife.
I know, right?
Adding a girlfriend, it's like, I don't got that kind of money. I got
financial
Taylor Swift shit to buy. Yeah.
You gotta pay for it all. One way or another.
I do find it to be somewhat humorous that Travis Kelce gets like shit on for being the poor boyfriend of Taylor Swift, and he makes like $34 million or something like that.
Right. The current, she hadn't dumped him yet. What's going on?
I don't know. It's very weird, right? Well, I'm thinking she's getting to that age. And this is going to be weird.
Oh, she wants him to be his baby mama?
That's what I'm thinking.
Or maybe. Whatever.
I'm just putting that out there.
Baby daddy.
Just putting that out there that it might be time. If you're going to have kids, 34 is about the high end. I think you want to.
I think 29 is the high end.
Well, if you have the money and the resources that she does, I think you can push that a little bit.
You can push it anytime you want, but if you want a healthy kid, the younger the better.
Younger the better. That's what Gene always says. That's why he won't even date anybody over 29 now.
29, please. 25.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know that the number had gone down.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Ricardus Rex.
You keep getting older, they just keep getting younger.
It's weird how that works.
Don't take that out of context, people.
I was so tempted, but I'm like, it was too low hanging fruit. Somebody posted, was it Tom Tomsky? Maybe it was, or see Brooklyn. One of them on X posted Leo DiCaprio, gets rid of the women by the time they're 29. Like, does this remind you of somebody that we know? And there were so many jokes right there. I'm like, Leo can afford the, it's really, I don't, it's what's weird to
Another
me.
nice guy in Hollywood, by the way.
He is. I've really never paid much attention. Is he the Derek Jeter of actors? Nobody says anything bad about Leo, even though he's a blatantly serial dater, or what?
He's got 4 houses. Let's just leave it at that.
4 houses, and he can have 4 girlfriends at a time.
There's a girl in each one. No, he's just apparently just a nice, mellow guy and easy to work with. Not one of those crazy typical actor dudes. I think he made his money early enough and has been working steadily.
Oh yeah, dude, he was in Growing Pains. Come on.
Like I said, he made his money early enough. So
and why is it that if you or I look at a actress that's in, her early 20s, like, oh, dude, she's hot, man, I'd do her. It's like, that's horrible. Chicks get this whole like Leo DiCaprio thing. It's like you do real, or let's put better yet, the Jeff Bezos thing. Oh, what do women see in him? I can tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you exactly what they see.
No, that absolutely. Women and men are attracted to different things for a reason.
Because we are the providers.
And they're the consumers.
Sad but true. Sometimes the store is open and there's just no foot traffic, Gene.
Yeah. I mean, women, what we would refer to as beauty has been evolved into what it is because past generations of women that had it got more food. True. And were able to reproduce, where the women that didn't have it, well, they didn't reproduce. They didn't get a whole lot of food from the providers.
So it's interesting that the big bad multi-million-dollar football player is okay playing second fiddle. Maybe he's just secure in his manhood.
I don't think that's it. I think that there's no future here. He knows it. He's having a fun old time. It'll be fun to recollect when he was banging her.
Right. I mean, really.
His buddies. And then he'll marry some nice girl, with a law degree.
This is exactly it. It's one of those things like all the chicks back in the day that wanted to sleep with Bon Jovi or whoever it is. It's a very similar thing now. That there's a song by Dan Byrne, who's another folk singer, that is called Tiger Woods. And it's funny. It's like, I wish I had big balls like Tiger Woods. But the one of the verses, I used to have a friend whose goal in life was to go down on Madonna. And he got his chance in Las Vegas one night. And then his life was shit from there on out because he went down on Madonna too soon. I mean, it's a hilarious song. But it makes the point.
Actually, that does sound pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, he's a crazy lefty too, which is why the lyrics are probably good. But there is something about peaking. There is something about people, which is why it's been a trope. By the way,
you don't have to be a crazy lefty. You be a crazy righty.
True.
And still have good lyrics too. But you have to be crazy.
You got to be crazy in one way, shape, or form. But there's that trope that goes around that's like, oh, you get a free pass. You got if you get a chance to do that celebrity that you like, then your husband or wife has to be okay with it. I remember there was what show was it where it was Jennifer Love Hewitt and the guy runs into her and she's like into it. But then, I mean, Jennifer Love Hewitt, if she was going to be on my list back then, probably like 20 years ago would have been. But this goes right through your age thing.
I mean, I saw why people liked her, but she was never did much for me.
She was quirky cute.
Yeah, quirky. Yeah.
Oh, let's not forget Kevin Seifert coming in with his $5 a month donation, and Sir Noldis, who we chastised last time for sending in 2 cents with Satoshis, upped it to 5.5 cents. So I guess we each get 2 now, and we can fight over that extra cent.
Adam gets that.
Yeah, the Podfather gets it. I noticed some things going. I noticed some Satoshis moving to Podcast Index now that I've got my Lightning node set up.
Your thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still no way to set up a wallet directly on these things, which is driving me nuts.
I know, right? It's funny. Mm-hmm.
Because in order to...
Just use an app on your phone, man. That's what everybody uses.
Well, it's the same thing. And some of those are running their own nodes. But the sad part is, okay, so you go through the hassle. You get a Bitcoin node. You get a Lightning node. This is all cool. You're taking part in the system. I just replied to
CSB, so there better be a donation coming in.
You've got the outgoing Satoshis, incoming. I got liquidity. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I create wallets? I want, I want a wallet for Unrelenting. I want one for the Rock and Roll Pre-Show. I want one for all of my shows, so I can easily just look at them and go, how is the overall state? Because
how are they doing?
When it goes into one pile,
it's easy to think it's all you,
right? It's very easy. Which is why it's great that the Satoshis get split apart before it gets into anybody. It's like, this is beautiful, but now it's like, so if I want a wallet for each show, I have to do that through like GetLB or Blue Wallet. It's the only way to create a wallet that I would then have to connect to the node, which is fine, but I'm like, it's still a third party involved.
So that's, you only need to do that if you are planning on taking any of the money out. And this is what I think, first person I heard say this was Adam, but I never really thought about it, but he's right, is you don't need a wallet. All you need to do is
have a place to send the Satoshis.
Because your wallet, the whole concept of a wallet is just fake. It's
right,
false.
To access your
There's
funds.
no wallet. All you have is the blockchain. So all you need is the key. And so what he's done is basically create a wallet, get the endpoint address, and then delete the wallet. And before deleting the wallet, though, save your 14-word key phrase or whatever.
Right. So,
but like he said, look, the key phrase is all you need. You don't need a wallet running on anything. That's what misconception people have, is that somehow they need to have some software running. You don't need software running. Your money is sitting on the blockchain itself. So all you need is the recover phrase.
This is not true, because you need to have the node running. Otherwise, the sats don't come in.
No. I asked him about that. He says you do not need to have a node running.
For Bitcoin, you don't. For Satoshis, you do.
Yeah. Well,
for the Lightning.
Satoshis. We're in amateur land. The professionals are getting Bitcoins, not Satoshis.
I will say you are absolutely the puppet master here. 3333 from Comic Strip Blogger.
Oh, look at that.
How many seconds did that take? He says, happy Friday, Kurwa. Well, Kurwa to you, Comic Strip Blogger. I hope everybody follows you on XCSB and X3 letters, or go to csb.lol. That's a website. You can look at his doodlings and all that.
And if you want him to send more sats to us, send some sats to him at csb@getlb.com.
True, and be like, forward these. You be my money launderer.
Yeah, exactly. CSB can launder the money.
We love it, love it, love it. We appreciate everybody who helps support this show. If you'd like to do so, if you got any value listening to this, a chuckle, maybe you learned something, you heard something, you're like, wow, I didn't know that. Go over to unrelenting.show and help support us by PayPal or Lightning or whatever you want to do. It's a beautiful thing.
Because there's a new spaceship coming out, and Daddy needs a new spaceship.
That was the first thing somebody in the troll room said, and I forget who. Maybe it was C. Brooklyn. Really? Like, Gene's probably off shopping for spaceships. Like, yeah, probably.
One of my other favorite games, other than Star Citizen, which is Elite Dangerous, they just changed their business model from you buy a game and you play it, which they've had for the last decade, to you buy a game, you play it, and then, hey, you can buy more spaceships for real money.
Oh, well, now
so I think it's a great move on their part. Everyone's bashing them for like pay to win. It's such bullshit. There's no winning with shit you buy. You still have to play the game. But the difference is that now you can buy it for real money instead of in-game money. And I think it will enable them to pay a lot more developers and to do a lot more with the game moving forward, because in the current gaming marketplace for live service games, meaning it's a game that doesn't just run on your computer, there's actually a server involved. Like, how are you supposed to keep that up and running and make improvements if all you ever do is just sell a game once?
True.
Right?
You got to have some upkeep.
This is why Adobe switched to a monthly model, and that's your choice. You could do a monthly model where they just charge you. EVE Online does that. EVE Online charges you, I think it's $10 or $15 a month for every month. No, it's less than that. What am I saying? It's definitely less than that. But
now, can you
it is a monthly fee
for like 6 months and then go back into it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I stopped playing EVE for 10 years and then came back into it for a little bit.
You're like, where's my account? We did get
it was all there. Everything was there. All my shit was there. Everything was exactly where I left it a decade earlier.
That's weird.
It's amazing.
We did get some more information and a 10,000 Satoshi boost from the aforementioned Podfather, who says if you have a full node, you can use Helipad to separate out your SAT income streams. Well, that's interesting. I did not know that. I will add. I know Helipad is available on the Umbral, so if that...
See, there you go. I told you he never listens.
Right, never at all. Like, why are you listening to this show? Gene was a half hour late. When is the halftime Dvorak was a half hour late to a show? And what happens? It only happens once if the punishment is severe enough.
Uh-huh.
But I'll have to try Helipad out. And so I can use just the main address, the wallet that comes with the Lightning node, and then do the magic elsewhere. Because I'm like, how do you do this? I want it separated by show, because otherwise, or what if you want to give other wallets? I know there's LN Bits, which is another one. You could put your own, if you want to have a wallet for friends and family. So maybe I wanted to host Gene's wallet. I could do that.
I would totally have you host my wallet, because can't be bothered myself. So.
Right. Well, you were paying for it. Then you're like, well, I didn't get any Satoshis.
I'm still paying for it. I still haven't canceled it.
Was that through Voltage still?
Yeah, I need to do that. I seriously need to cancel it.
They do a good work from what I hear.
Every month.
They do good work. They keep their service running.
You could charge me $5 a month and it'd be cheaper.
It'd be a bonus. And I'm trying to figure out how to hook those up, because you have to go through the Onion address, which I've got. And I was trying it with and without the port, and it kept giving me connection error. So it is a trial and error thing. You just hope that the trials don't take everything down. And
you don't want to have any real money in there until you're fully tested everything out. For sure.
To make sure everything's working.
Yeah. Speaking of Podfather, did you see I posted a link to Joe Rogan telling what's her name? Gabby. God damn it! I'm blanking out her name.
Gabby Giffords, was it?
No. The chick that Gabby used to be the Hawaiian representative.
Oh, Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard. Telling Tulsi about Adam Curry.
You told her about Adam Curry.
No, I posted on X a clip of Joe Rogan. Telling Tulsi Gabbard
who Adam Curry
about Adam Curry. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
He was featured nicely in the Bon Jovi documentary there.
Adam Curry?
Yeah, a few different times.
Yeah.
I mean, he was big back in the day.
He was big in the 80s, as they say.
Going to the Moscow Peace Festival.
Oh, yeah.
That still had to be very odd to me. I don't understand if all these, and it was, when you think stadium shows, I'm used to what you have in Chicago. Okay, the Soldier Field can fit 70,000 people. But most of these stadium shows, maybe were 40 or 50,000 people. This looked like there was almost 150, 200,000 people at this. And it seemed like they were singing along, and it's well, I thought it was illegal to have the music in that country.
Yeah, everybody had the music. No, it wasn't illegal. It was just not available legally. It wasn't officially sold, so it was all copies of bootlegs.
Yeah, and some very poorly made, from what I understand. And
just like the jeans.
Right. Well, yeah, they're not Levi. They're
not. They're fake Levi's. Yeah, they're not very well made.
But really, the more you think about it, streaming killed the record industry, because I asked the wife the other day, I'm like, so who do you think has sold more records? Taylor Swift, Bruce Springsteen, or Bon Jovi?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Taylor Swift. Like, nope, third on that list, because nobody buys records anymore.
Just you.
Right. Well, some people buy records, but the overall amount, you think about Sheryl Crow had an album, I think, that sold like 15 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Taylor Swift albums, everybody's streaming it, I think the albums only sell like 2 to 3 million, which is great today.
Well, she also releases like 2 albums at a time, which is crazy.
Well, it's like Garth Brooks. It's like she wants the number. It's like Garth just keeps releasing albums and keeps releasing box sets. You can be like, well, no, technically that's X amount of albums.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants to be that number one.
I'm starting to think she orchestrated that whole thing where like, oh, the evil record company doesn't want to sell me my music back, so I'm just going to recreate it all.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a minute.
Like there was more benefit to her doing that than not.
One, even though everything appears to be legit, that the father was not engaged in any of the negotiations, he owned a stake in that, so he made a lot of money on the sale.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, I believe the Scooter Braun's and the other guy from that bought it, the guy that was the manager for the Canadian kid Bieber, they said that she was given the opportunity to buy them and just turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking is like, this was a better move to do it this way.
Yeah. And well, because you have the recording technology now, and we all know that she was a lesser singer the last time around, although I think that killed it.
Right.
For a bunch of people, because they're like, well, it's not the same now.
It's not. That's true.
Like, you don't want to take a raw song that people fell in love with and then clean it up.
I watched one of her latest clips. I don't think it was a video, but it was a clip from a stage show. Is it just me remembering wrong, or did she gain like 20 pounds?
No, I think she bulked up a little for the show.
She looks kind of chubby-ish.
Had to get that.
I would not call her fat by any stretch, but I wouldn't call her skinny, which I used to call her skinny.
And I think she could kick my ass, so I really wouldn't.
Oh, she's taller than you, yeah. Of course she'd kick your ass.
I mean, I've still got 5 or 6 inches on her.
But not what she said.
She's in much better shape, and the stamina. I would go out there and try to do a show.
Even if she's lip syncing, which I think she is most of the time, she's still jumping around on stage like that.
Constantly
you can't
moving,
fake.
constantly moving.
Yeah, and that's the part that like the cardio has got to be really good for all these people.
Well, that's when they
it's not like guys that I used to listen to that walk out on stage with a cigarette, martini glass.
Yeah, that Sinatra. You weren't running around the stage.
No,
George Strait.
You're walking at half pace most of the time.
Alan Jackson. So we saw Alan Jackson, and George Strait, and I don't think either one of them ever really left the microphone at the center of the stage.
Yeah.
Just went out. Then Willie the same way. Didn't need to be running around.
No.
Especially now, of course, for Willie.
Yeah. Well, now he's sitting, but yeah.
But that was it. There was, I think, the training regimen. Part of it was 3 hours of cardio a day while singing at the top of her lungs, or at least
crazy.
Recreating that as best that they could.
Right.
In order to go through that. But this is probably the
who started that? Who really kind of got the
Springsteen?
No,
he's the one that is credited with the 3 hour plus shows and everybody else. McCartney talks about Springsteen doing that, and he's like, dude, fuck you, way too long. We don't want to. We don't want to. He's like in the Beatles.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about duration. I'm talking about like who created the whole dance routine on stage thing while singing, rather than just standing in front of a microphone singing. Who was the first? Was it Madonna? Was it somebody before her?
I don't know, but it was a chick. I can tell you that.
Yeah, it was definitely a chick. Madonna did do that. I remember back in maybe not her first early stuff, but definitely her stage shows by the mid 80s were a lot of dancing.
Yes.
But did anyone do that before?
I know that there was a lot of, even in country music back in the 80s, that Reba, with all of the, maybe wasn't dancing around as much, but very big stage shows with different costume changes and, with the backup dancers and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they've always had some of that at the Grand Ole Opry, just in general. The whole costume change thing. But there's a difference between just doing costume change and basically standing and singing.
Britney Spears was one that was huge.
But that was way after Madonna.
Yeah. I never saw Madonna's stage show, so I really couldn't.
I never seen it live, but I certainly seen bootlegs of them.
The rock guys were definitely running around the stage, but never the stage setup for anybody that has even caught a clip from the Taylor Swift tour. Forget about the music, forget about her. The technology on the stage is amazing.
Oh, yeah. It's impressive, yeah.
The fact that nobody's gotten killed yet with the way the stage very quickly around. Goes up and down. Yeah.
It's like Vegas shows, I think, started that whole thing. I remember going to see what's that band that called they've got multiple shows in Vegas. Like I remember here I can look it up. One of their albums was called Alegria.
So not the Rolling Stones.
No. The Cirque du Soleil.
Yes, that's not really.
It's not a band. I know, it's a show. But they've been going since the 90s, and their stages have always been hydraulic.
Yeah.
Like there's always shit moving up, and then they've got a water show where the stage literally goes down and it's underwater.
You're like, that's weird, man. Billy Bones points out Alice Cooper put on one hell of a show back in the day, too. Probably still does. It's that over the top.
Now, if he never did drugs, that wouldn't surprise me.
Alice he's straight laced. Mm-hmm. He was buddies with Glenn Campbell. They used to go out golfing together.
Did they really?
Yeah. Now, that would be an oddity. He's like, there were a couple of times. There was a story that Alice Cooper told was they were going through a, red light or turning, one of those things where they knew there was a camera. So there was a picture of that, which is, Alice Cooper and Glenn Campbell driving through either a red light or turning on red or whatever it was. He's like, they went in and the cops had a poster of that on the wall at the police station.
That's funny.
Like, yeah, very weird combination. Like, well, no weirder than this show, really.
Yeah, probably.
Which one's Alice Cooper? Which one's Glenn Campbell? Not really sure.
Yeah, I'm the straight-laced one for sure.
You think? I don't know. I don't know if I believe that one or not. But this is why people tune in. They tune in for the greatest music talk here.
They do every week.
And unrelenting. And this was a rarity where we kind of stayed almost on topic for the whole show. You plan on waking up on time for next week's show?
I'm going to go to sleep immediately after we're done.
You can tell that something popped up. Who knows what's going on? I have to turn notifications off. But go take a nap, Gene. You'll feel better.
All right. Oh, look at that.